Dr. Arjun Mehta, a respected Indian heart specialist in Australia, wasn't saving lives, he was breaking hearts. Behind his charm and white coat, he conned over 3,000 women, vanished after faking his death, and returned as Arav Khanna, a new man with a new face and an old secret. In 2012, the bustling city of Sydney welcomed a new doctor from India, a man who instantly captured attention wherever he went. His name was Dr. Arjun Mehta, a cardiologist said to have studied in London and worked in prestigious hospitals across Asia. His polished English, soft tone, and gentle manners made him a favorite among patients and colleagues. People admired his intelligence and humility, believing he was a rare combination of success and kindness. Within months, he became well known in the Indian and South Asian communities for his volunteer work, attending medical camps and donating to small charities. He even helped raise funds for heart surgeries for underprivileged children, gaining respect and admiration from everyone around him. Behind that charming smile, however, Arjun carried secrets no one could imagine. He was a master observer, skilled at reading emotions, and he used that gift to his advantage. Every handshake, every friendly conversation was a step in a larger plan. He wasn't looking to heal hearts, he was studying them. He noticed how easily people trusted a doctor, especially one who seemed successful and compassionate. He realized that the very profession that brought him praise could also become his shield. Arjun rented a luxurious apartment near the Sydney harbor and filled it with medical books, certificates, and photographs of himself in white coats, many of them forged. His online presence showed a perfect life, expensive dinners, charity events, and medical conferences. To the world, he was a hero. But when the lights went off and the crowds disappeared, Arjun Mehta became something else entirely. A man planning to use love, trust, and desperation as tools to build his fortune, one victim at a time. Arjun Mehta's double life began to unfold quietly behind a screen. While he appeared to live as a respected doctor by day, his nights were spent crafting digital illusions. He created multiple profiles on dating sites, matrimonial platforms, and social media apps, each one carefully designed with different names, backgrounds, and personalities. One profile showed him as a wealthy cardiologist searching for a partner to share his success. Another portrayed him as a widower who had lost his wife to illness and wanted to find love again. His photos were always polished, often showing him in medical scrubs, beside hospital beds, or in expensive cars. Every detail was calculated to earn sympathy and admiration. His communication style was slow and deliberate. He took time to build emotional bonds, often talking for weeks before introducing the idea of meeting or money. He listened to his victims' dreams, fears, and loneliness, then mirrored their emotions perfectly. Women felt seen and understood, believing he was their missing piece. Once trust was built, Arjun would mention a sudden crisis, an emergency surgery abroad, a family member's operation, or a charity project needing urgent funds. The amounts he requested were always believable, never too large to raise suspicion, but enough to make a difference when multiplied across hundreds of victims. Using fake bank accounts and crypto wallets, he made the transactions impossible to trace. Some women sent him thousands, others offered jewelry or gifts. Each believed she was helping someone she loved. Arjun kept detailed notes, tracking every conversation and amount. His network grew so fast that he had to hire virtual assistants under false names to manage his profiles. What began as a small deception was quickly becoming a global fraud empire, built entirely on trust, affection, and lies. Arjun Mehta knew that appearances were everything. His medical identity gave him an almost untouchable level of credibility, and he used it with surgical precision. He made sure every trace of his professional life looked authentic. His apartment walls were lined with framed degrees from well-known universities, many digitally altered. He purchased real medical equipment online and arranged them neatly in his study so that any video call or visitor would see the tools of a true doctor. He even carried a hospital ID badge that looked official, complete with a barcode and logo copied from a real Sydney hospital. To anyone who met him, he was the perfect example of success and integrity. He attended medical conferences, posed for photos beside real doctors, and later posted those images on social media with captions about saving lives. Sometimes, he even volunteered briefly at small clinics just to strengthen his cover. Women who doubted him could easily find his name mentioned in charity posts or event photos, making him appear genuine. Every move was strategic, calculated to erase suspicion before it could form. Arjun's charm and confidence made people lower their guard. He often spoke about long work hours, sleepless nights, and the emotional toll of treating heart patients. This created sympathy, making his victims feel they were special enough to understand his struggles. In truth, he had no patients, no surgeries, and no real hospital job. Every day, he wore his white coat only to record short clips for new fake profiles or video calls. The uniform that symbolized healing became his disguise. He didn't need to steal credit cards or break into banks. His greatest weapon was trust, and the doctor everyone adored was nothing more than a well-rehearsed illusion. In 2015, the first cracks began to appear in Arjun Mehta's perfect facade. Among the many women he had charmed was Emma Collins, a 34-year-old pharmacist from Melbourne. Intelligent and independent, Emma had been in touch with Arjun for nearly 6 months. He had promised her a life of love, travel, and family. They exchanged pictures, spoke on calls, and even discussed engagement. Emma felt certain she had met the man she would marry. But one small detail planted doubt in her mind. The hospital where Arjun claimed to work never seemed to appear on official directories. When she tried to confirm his employment, the receptionist told her there was no doctor by that name. Confused but calm, Emma searched online and discovered other women talking about a man who looked suspiciously like Arjun, using different names on dating apps. Her stomach sank as she realized she had been trapped in a carefully spun web. She tried contacting him to confront the lie, but his number was suddenly disconnected. His social media accounts vanished overnight, along with all the photos, messages, and promises. Determined to expose the truth, Emma filed a complaint with Australian authorities. Investigators soon noticed similarities between her report and several others. Different victims mentioned a doctor of Indian origin with a charming accent and an emotional story, always asking for small but urgent amounts of money. When police cross-checked the complaints, the pattern became undeniable. Dozens of women had been tricked by the same man using multiple names. His real identity remained unclear, but evidence pointed to a single mastermind operating across cities. For the first time, the man known as Dr. Arjun Mehta was no longer invisible. The hunt for the ghost doctor had quietly begun. As the investigation deepened, the scale of Arjun Mehta's deception shocked even seasoned detectives. Reports poured in from across Australia, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, each telling the same story of a charming Indian doctor who had promised love, compassion, and a future, only to vanish after taking money. The authorities contacted Interpol when they realized the operation stretched far beyond Australian borders. Evidence began to surface from Singapore, Malaysia, the United Kingdom, and India. Arjun had created a network of fake identities so vast that tracing him became a nightmare. His financial trail was almost impossible to follow. He used cryptocurrency, fake charities, and shell companies registered under different names. Investigators found dozens of accounts opened with forged documents. Every time one account was shut down, another would appear in a new country. His digital footprints led through VPNs, dark web exchanges, and offshore banks. It was clear that Arjun wasn't just a love scammer. He was running an international fraud syndicate disguised as a medical foundation. The number of victims grew into the thousands, with losses reaching millions of dollars. Some women had mortgaged homes or sold jewelry to help him. Others sent him personal documents and bank details, believing they were investing in legitimate medical projects. Each victim told the same story of emotional manipulation and trust. Media outlets began calling him the Ghost Doctor, a nickname that captured both his vanishing acts and his haunting effect on victims. Authorities placed him on a global watch list, but every time they came close, he disappeared again, changing names, faces, and countries. His charm had evolved into something far darker, a calculated mask behind which a criminal empire quietly thrived. In late 2018, news broke that stunned both investigators and victims. Dr. Arjun Mehta was reportedly dead. According to police reports, his luxury car had crashed on a remote highway outside Perth and burst into flames. The charred remains of a man were found inside, and documents in the glove compartment confirmed Arjun's identity. Authorities quickly concluded that he had lost control of the vehicle while driving late at night. His death was ruled accidental. For many, it felt like the story had reached a sudden and unsatisfying end. Victims of his scams reacted with mixed emotions. Some felt relief that the man who had stolen their trust could no longer harm anyone else. Others were furious that he had escaped punishment through death. Investigators closed the file, believing the nightmare was finally over. News outlets ran brief stories about the mysterious doctor's tragic end, calling it the final chapter of a man who lived too many lives. But quietly, certain details didn't add up. The autopsy report mentioned that the body was too badly burned for proper DNA testing. Identification was based solely on personal belongings, a watch, a ring, and the car registration. A few detectives who had studied the case closely found it strange that a man so cautious and calculated would die in such a reckless accident. They also noted that just days before the crash, Arjun had withdrawn a large amount of cash and closed several cryptocurrency wallets. Still, with no hard evidence, the case was officially closed. The ghost doctor was declared dead, and the world moved on. But for those who had known his cunning, the story felt unfinished, as if the man who thrived on deception had one final trick left to play. Months after the news of Arjun Mehta's supposed death, strange stories began to surface in unexpected places. In Brisbane, a woman claimed she had seen a man who looked exactly like him sitting at a cafe, wearing sunglasses and reading a medical journal. In Perth, a hotel manager reported that a guest named Dr. Aryan Singh stayed for a month, paying in cash and leaving behind expensive cologne identical to the brand Arjun once used. Soon after, a photo appeared online from Kuala Lumpur, showing a man conducting a wellness seminar who bore an uncanny resemblance to the deceased doctor. Each sighting seemed unbelievable, yet none could be ignored. These reports reached private investigator Liam Turner, who had quietly followed Arjun's case even after the official closure. He revisited the accident report and was troubled by the inconsistencies. The body in the wreckage had never been positively identified through DNA testing. There were no dental records to confirm it was Arjun. Even stranger, the car's insurance policy had been updated only 3 days before the crash. Liam's instincts told him that the ghost doctor might still be alive. He began tracing financial movements linked to Arjun's known accounts and noticed a suspicious pattern. Several small transactions funneled into Southeast Asia just weeks after the supposed death. Someone was still using his old financial routes. Liam contacted Interpol, sharing his findings, but without solid proof, the case couldn't be reopened. Yet deep down, he was certain that the doctor hadn't died. He had simply changed his stage. The sightings, the money transfers, and the missing DNA evidence all pointed to one chilling truth. Arjun Mehta had fooled everyone once again, even in death. As Liam Turner dug deeper into the mysterious trail, he uncovered something extraordinary. Just a week before the supposed crash, Arjun Mehta had transferred over $200,000 to a private plastic surgery clinic in Indonesia. The payment records were disguised under the name of a fake charity, but the timing was too suspicious to ignore. Around that same week, airport security footage from Sydney captured a man resembling Arjun boarding a flight to Bali using a passport under the name Rajiv Patel. His new look was slightly different: trimmed beard, tinted glasses, and a subtle change in posture, but the resemblance was undeniable. Liam contacted the clinic discreetly. Staff refused to share details, citing patient confidentiality. Yet one employee hinted that a foreign man had recently undergone extensive facial reconstruction to recover from an accident. The surgery was paid entirely in cash. Cross-checking with local authorities confirmed that a new resident named Arif Khanna, an Indian national, had moved to Bali shortly after Arjun's reported death. The coincidence was impossible to overlook. Liam presented his findings to Interpol, and investigators started connecting the dots. Immigration records showed that Arif Khanna held no medical license, yet he had registered a health company within weeks of arrival. The same writing style found in Arjun's old emails appeared in online advertisements for a new wellness retreat. Every clue pointed to a single conclusion: Arjun Mehta had faked his death, altered his face, and built a new identity. He had escaped the world's search for justice by becoming someone else entirely. The doctor who once healed hearts and lies had successfully performed the most daring operation of all, the reinvention of himself. Under his new name, Arif Khanna, the fugitive doctor reinvented himself as a visionary entrepreneur in Bali. He opened a high-end wellness retreat on the island's coast, promoting luxury detox programs, holistic healing, and stress recovery therapies. The resort was surrounded by palm trees, ocean views, and an aura of tranquility that drew wealthy tourists from around the world. Arif wore designer clothes, drove an imported car, and presented himself as a quiet, spiritual man who had left the chaos of modern life behind. No one there knew he was a ghost from another identity, a man who had once faked his own death to vanish from justice. The retreat quickly gained popularity. Celebrities and business owners visited for personalized health plans, trusting Arif's calm demeanor and medical knowledge. His charm was intact, his lies more polished than ever. The media called him the doctor who heals the soul, and articles praised his compassion and success. Yet behind the peaceful smiles, his operations were shady. He accepted only cash and cryptocurrencies, and employees were hired under short-term contracts with fake records. Everything about his new empire was built to vanish as easily as it had appeared. The downfall began with a small mistake. Arif launched an online newsletter to promote his resort, filled with poetic quotes about healing and love. One of his old victims, still haunted by the ghost doctor, subscribed out of curiosity. As she read his words, a chill ran through her. The phrasing, the metaphors, even the punctuation were identical to the messages Arjun once sent her. She immediately reported it to authorities. For the first time in years, the mask that had protected Arjun Mehta began to crack, and the trail that would lead to his capture slowly reignited. Interpol and Australian Federal Police launched a joint investigation with Indonesian authorities after receiving the anonymous tip. They began quietly monitoring the Bali retreat, collecting evidence without alerting its wealthy clientele. Undercover agents booked luxury treatment packages to observe the mysterious doctor firsthand. Everything about Arif Khanna's behavior matched the ghost doctor's patterns: his soft voice, his obsession with control, and his habit of using emotional language to win trust. The investigators carefully gathered fingerprints from glasses, pins, and doorknobs during their stay. When compared to the samples from the old Arjun Mehta files, the match was unmistakable. The man who had faked his death in Australia was living freely under a new name. Authorities moved in cautiously to avoid public chaos. One evening in 2022, as the sun dipped behind the Bali coastline, police surrounded the retreat. Guests were escorted out calmly, unaware that the man they called Dr. Arif was one of the world's most wanted scammers. Arjun was found sitting in his private office, working on his laptop. He didn't resist arrest or speak a word. Inside the villa, investigators discovered a maze of forged passports, bank cards, and encrypted hard drives. Hidden safes contained gold bars, cash bundles, and a list of hundreds of female victims across multiple countries. The evidence was overwhelming. Within weeks, Arjun Mehta was extradited to Australia under tight security. The media erupted with headlines exposing the resurrection of the ghost doctor. His empire of lies had finally collapsed. What he once built through charm and deception now stood as proof of one of the most elaborate criminal schemes in modern Australian history. A network of hearts broken and lives destroyed by one man's greed. When Arjun Mehta finally stood before the Australian court, the world watched in disbelief. The man once admired as a healer was now exposed as a global con artist who had manipulated over 3,000 women and vanished through a trail of deceit. His face, now surgically altered, showed no emotion as prosecutors presented the mountain of evidence against him. Testimonies from victims painted a chilling picture of a man who understood human weakness better than anyone and used it to his advantage. Some women cried while recounting how they had trusted him with their life savings, while others spoke about the emotional scars that never healed. The courtroom fell silent when the judge called his actions a calculated betrayal of the human heart. Despite overwhelming proof, Arjun remained calm, offering no apology and showing no trace of remorse. Psychologists who evaluated him described him as highly intelligent but completely devoid of empathy. The court sentenced him to 35 years in prison, calling his crimes one of the most complex emotional frauds in Australian history. His assets were seized, his retreat shut down, and his accomplices hunted across several countries. Even in prison, stories about him continued to surface. Some believed he still had money hidden in offshore accounts, waiting for someone to retrieve it. Others claimed he had plans to write a book about his life. But most saw him for what he truly was, a man who destroyed lives through manipulation and lies. The tale of the ghost doctor became a warning across the world, a reminder that danger sometimes comes not from violence, but from charm. Arjun Mehta had once faked death to escape justice, but in the end, he could not escape the truth.